Hello 10th class students, as we have completed 4 chapters, now I am going to start atomic structure. So before starting the atomic structure officially of 10th class, what you have to do is you have to go through with the textbook of 9th, which includes atoms and molecules in it. So here I am giving you a few videos of basics which you have to watch before I start the expression for chapter atomic structure or structure of an atom. This is a very important chapter. Entire chemistry starts from here. So the foundation which you need for chemistry is like starting from this particular chapter. So go through with the topics of ninth first, read the textbook and watch the videos. Then like after 3 or 4 videos I am going to start the explanation for a structure of an atom.
Hello friends, this video on atom and molecules part 5 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Okay. So now we know there are something called atoms for a given element. For example, oxygen, hydrogen, copper, phosphorus, gold. There are so many atoms. And this is all in 1800s range, 1820s to 30s. More and more atoms were discovered. You won't say invented because these things exist in nature. The scientists discovered it. So there was a need to represent them, right? You always can't write oxygen. This is very difficult, right? So many reactions, you always can't write sulfur. It will combustion. So there has to be some way to represent it. So Dalton proposed this idea of representing atom like this: hydrogen with a circle and a dot, carbon with a circle with a shade, oxygen with just a circle without any shade, phosphorus with this Mercedes shape, sulfur with this cross shape, iron with I here, copper with C, lead with L, silver with S, gold since it glitters, so extra dots here for gold, platinum is P, mercury is M. These were the shapes suggested by Dalton. But gradually so many elements were discovered. More than 100 elements were discovered. And it is really cumbersome to remember so many symbols, right? So then there were a lot of talks going on to use the first and the second letter of the name of the element to give the symbol. And this idea was proposed by Berzelius. So this Berzelius, he suggested that let's use the first and second letter. For example, if it is hydrogen, and since it is very common, let's use only the first letter and let's assume H as the representation of hydrogen. Carbon, since it is also common, the carbon is represented by C. Even if you see, oxygen is also very common. So oxygen is also represented by O. The first letter of oxygen, the first letter of carbon, the first letter of hydrogen. Right? If you talk about iodine, that is also represented by a first letter, that is I. But there are some which are represented by the first two letters. For example, silicon. It is represented by Si, the first letter, because S is already given for sulfur. So if you talk about sulfur, it is written by sulfur. The next element found was silicon. You can't give S because S is already allocated to sulfur, so it is Si. Right? Uranium by U. Neon. See, nitrogen is represented by N. The next element found was neon, and neon was found after nitrogen, so N cannot be given, so Ne was used to represent neon. Right? Copper. So copper, it can be C, but C is already given to carbon, so C cannot be given. So it was Cu. Why Cu? Cuprous. Cuprous or cuprum is Latin name for copper. So from this word cuprous or cuprum, this word this symbol Cu was derived. Similarly, gold also, if you see, gold was given Au based on the Latin name aurum. Okay, aurum means yellow metal. Very few metals are yellow. Most of the metal you will see is white. You talk about zinc, aluminium, iron, sodium, all these are metallic, silver metal. Mercury, silver, gold, copper. I remember two which are not white. Okay, zinc, for example, was given Zn. So these elements or these atoms of these elements are represented by one or more than one letters of the element, right? Calcium is Ca, chlorine is Cl. So the next, it need not be the immediate letter. For example, Cl, chlorine, the next immediate letter after C was H, but the representation is Cl. Okay, iron is called Fe from the Latin name ferrum. Okay, so this is how these atoms of different elements are represented. We don't use the symbols suggested by Dalton because there are so many elements, difficult to remember. For example, not only it's difficult to remember that this hydrogen is this, carbon is this. But hydrogen is H, carbon is C, oxygen is O. It is little easy to remember. Okay. And if you notice one more thing, as per IUPAC name, the first letter is always capital and the second letter is small. For example, calcium is Ca, C capital, A small. Calcium is never capital C capital A or small c small a. Calcium is capital C small a. This is correct. Similarly, iron is capital F small e. Iron is never Fe or Fe. These are all wrong. Right? Sodium is, if you see, Na. It is never small n small a or capital N capital A. It has to be capital N small a. Correct? So each element has got a unique chemical symbol. Potassium symbol is K. K is kalium. Kalium is again Latin name. Typically it is Greek or German name. Okay. So this is how we represent different types of elements. Thank you. Visit our website examfear.com to watch more and more quality education videos. You can also attempt free online tests that are there in our website. You can also get access to tons of free study materials, and you can also find free tutors and mentors in this website. Thanks a lot for watching. Hello friends, this video on Atom and Molecules part 6 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now we know the atom's size. That atoms are very small in size. We know that physical property of any matter is determined by atom. Any matter, you see, it has atom in it. We know all these things about atom. We also know how to represent atom. For example, calcium is Ca, oxygen is O, sodium is Na, potassium is K, chlorine is Cl, hydrogen is H. We know all these things. Let's see how heavy is the atom. See, Dalton atomic theory has clearly told that each element or each element atom has unique mass, right? Some are heavy, some are light. For example, oxygen is heavy, hydrogen is light, and we'll show you how. Okay. Now, this theory, the atomic theory, could explain the law of constant proportion. Example, carbon plus oxide is equal to CO2. So this theory has told that when carbon reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide, it is always in the constant proportion. For example, 3 gram of carbon will react with 4 gram of oxygen to form 7 gram of carbon dioxide. This is the experimental data. It is always in this proportion. Or you multiply everything by 2, 6 gram of carbon will react with 8 gram of carbon dioxide to form 14 gram of carbon dioxide. Sorry, 8 gram of oxygen to form 14 gram of carbon dioxide. These things were known, right? So with this we can actually find relative atomic mass. We are talking about 1850s era where actual atomic mass was difficult to find. Now using the instruments by physics, we can actually find the actual atomic mass, but that time it was very difficult. It was impossible to find the actual atomic mass, but it was okay to find the relative atomic mass. For example, if you see carbon plus, as I told, 3 gram of, let's ignore this part now, 3 gram of carbon reacts with 4 gram of oxygen to give carbon dioxide. This is a balanced reaction. If you see in this reaction, N carbon molecules will react with N oxygen molecules to give N carbon CO2, right? Because if you see, it's all balanced. It's all N. So N carbon molecules is 3 gram. I can write N or NC atom is 3 grams. And similarly, NO2 molecules or NC, I can say oxygen atoms, is 4 gram. So with this, you can say that oxygen is heavier because the same number of carbon atom is 3 gram, the same number of oxygen atom is 4 gram. That means oxygen is heavier. Hope you are following. See, 3 grams of carbon, 4 grams of oxygen gives 7 gram of carbon dioxide. This is experimental data. This is experimental data. Right? Now with this, we conclude that in this reaction, N molecules of N atoms of carbon is reacting with N atoms of oxygen to form N molecules of carbon dioxide. This is actually molecule. So N molecules or atom of carbon is 3 grams and N atom or molecule of oxygen is 4 grams. That means oxygen atoms are heavier than carbon dioxide. Or then carbon, sorry. So with that, actually you can tell which atom is heavy, which atom is light, just one experiment. And to find the relative atomic mass, one atomic mass has to be taken as one mu or one unit. So what chemists did was they had option. They could choose because we have hundreds plus atoms and we have to take one as the reference. So you could choose hydrogen as unit, or you can choose oxygen as 1 unit, or carbon as unit. So they opted to choose hydrogen as 1 unit. So if you choose hydrogen as 1 unit, you'll actually see that oxygen comes out to be 16 unit, carbon comes out to be 12 unit, and all these are experimental data. With this, the concept of atomic mass came. We'll talk about it later. Just understand from this slide that we concluded that the oxygen atom is heavier than carbon atom using this particular experimental data and Dalton's theory. Okay. So let's see the history of atomic mass. See, in 1803, John Dalton, he suggested actually, because that was the time he coined the term atomic mass. Atomic mass term was not there. He was the one who gave this term atomic mass. He suggested that mass of hydrogen atom to be 1 unit. This was his suggestion, Dalton. Okay. So he suggested let's consider hydrogen as one unit, and that is a natural unit for atomic weight. But there was a problem. See, all these, if hydrogen is considered as one unit, and I have to find, let's suppose, unit of sodium or carbon, or let's suppose chlorine, then I actually have to react all these things with hydrogen because this is my base. But hydrogen does not react with everything. In fact, hydrogen does not react with most other elements. For example, if I am to react sodium and hydrogen, I don't know how it will react. Carbon and hydrogen, it will form methane, but you need some high temperature and pressure. So hydrogen was ruled out. Why? Because to determine the relative atomic mass of other elements, has to react with hydrogen, right? But that doesn't happen. Why hydrogen was chosen? Because it was the lightest element, lightest atom, so that was a natural choice. So what to do? Now they found that oxygen is something that reacts with everything pretty easily. Carbon plus oxygen, hydrogen plus oxygen gives water, right? Carbon plus oxygen is CO2. Anything easily burns. Reaction of oxygen with something is nothing but burning reaction. It is very easy to burn something. So they thought, let's take oxygen as the base unit. When oxygen, hydrogen, if hydrogen is considered as one unit, oxygen value came out to be 16 unit experimentally. Right? Let's assume the Dalton theory itself. If hydrogen is considered as one unit, oxygen came out to be 16 unit because 1 gram of oxygen reacts with 1 gram of hydrogen reacts with 16 gram of H2, this is H2 plus half O2 is H2O. So 2 grams of oxygen will actually react with 16 grams of, and this is 2 grams react with 16 grams to 18 grams. Yeah, this is experimental data anyway. So this was experimental data. 2 grams of hydrogen react with 16 grams of oxygen to give 18 grams of water. Right? So with this, here we have 2 hydrogen, here we have half oxygen. So with this it was concluded that oxygen is 16 times heavier than hydrogen atom, or oxygen atom is 16 times heavier than hydrogen atom. So with this reaction it was found that, again, because it is actually 1 and it's 2, and that's how they react. So now, and since oxygen reacts with other substance, so oxygen has to be taken as base. So Ostwald recommended, was also a very popular scientist, he recommended 1/16 weight of oxygen to be considered as standard unit of atomic weight, and he called that as atomic mass unit, AMU. So 1/16 weight of oxygen, let's consider that as standard atomic mass unit. Okay. So then this 1/16 weight of oxygen became the reference, and all other atomic mass unit was formed. But there was a problem. Science progressed and they found that oxygen has 3 isotopes, 16, 17 and 18. In fact, oxygen 16 is almost 99.7%, and these are very few. But oxygen had 3 isotopes. That created some problems, right? So which one to choose? Should we choose 16 or 17 or 18, or the average of all these 3? Plus, science was more advanced. In fact, physics. Now, physics advanced a lot. The physicists now can actually find the mass of a single atom using spectrometer. So there is something called spectrometer that came into picture. This physics. Physicists, they invented spectrometer, and with this spectrometer they could actually find the mass of a single individual atom. Okay, and these chemists were actually using chemical reactions. So there was an issue here, right? So we have chemist. Let me clear this. So we had now chemists and we have physicists. So this chemist were actually using chemical reaction. And this physicist were using a tool, high-powered tool I can say, and this tool, spectrometer, to find mass of single atom. They could find the actual mass of single atom. And they were using chemical reaction to find relative mass. So there was a conflict. Since for chemists they are looking only for reaction with oxygen. Oxygen has so many isotopes, right? 16, 17, 18. So they were ignoring this fact of different isotopes and they're just reacting with oxygen and trying to find mass of other atoms. But these physicists, they wanted standard based on specific isotopes, right? Because they could actually, using spectrometer, say that O16 is different, O17 is different, O18 is different, right? They could actually find that. They had the instrument. Now since they had better instruments and they could actually find the actual atomic mass of a single atom, they were not ready to accept this concept. Also, chemists were also not very comfortable with oxygen. Why? Because, see, oxygen is gas. Since it is all because of chemical analysis, they have to weigh it, right? And weighing a gas is difficult. So they also wanted something which is solid in state. For example, carbon, right, or iron, or aluminum, or gold. So they wanted something which is solid as a base, right? Gold was one good contender, carbon was one good contender. So they were looking for something solid with which they can react something and get the final product, and they can easily weigh the gold and carbon. Also, physicists were not happy. Physicists were not happy because they were looking for atomic mass of specific isotopes, right? Now what happened was, all these physicists and chemists, they met and they again decided that let's use C12 isotopes. Please note here, now since they were looking for specific isotope, this is C12 specific isotope, these guys were looking for solid and his carbon is solid. So they told C12 isotope and 1/12 weight of C12 isotope be the base unit of reference. Now chemists were happy, they got something solid to measure. Physicists were happy because this is C12. And C12 also has isotopes, but 99% or more than 99% is actually C12 for any carbon. So any carbon you pick, 99% will have C12. So with that, they're also happy. 1961 actually, IUPAC declared C12 isotopes as standard reference for measuring atomic mass. Right? Actually, gold was also good contender. And gold, if you see, there is no issue with isotope only because there is only one isotope. So they could have opted gold, but there was two reasons why gold was not opted for. First, gold does not react with many elements. So this chemical reaction involves reaction, so that could not happen. Second, gold is costly. So if they use gold as standard unit for reaction, the consumption of gold in the lab will increase, and the gold is costly. So they opted for carbon because carbon is solid, carbon is cheap, not very costly, and easily available, right? So any one was required and they opted for carbon. So that is the history of atomic mass. It all started with Dalton's proposal of using hydrogen unit as one unit, atomic mass unit, and then Ostwald proposed oxygen that was used because oxygen reacted with so many other elements, and then it was found that oxygen has so many isotopes: oxygen 16, oxygen 17, oxygen 18. Plus, this physicists around the world, they could actually measure the mass of a single atom using spectrometer. So they were looking for standard which is based on specific isotope, right? They don't want a general carbon or general oxygen. And chemists were also a little uncomfortable with oxygen because oxygen was a little difficult to weight. So in 1961, IUPAC met and chemists and physicists, they agreed together and they told we'll use carbon 12 as the standard. They had option to use gold also, but gold was costly, so they used carbon 12 as the standard. Okay, so that is. Thank you. Visit our website examfear.com to watch more and more quality education videos. You can also attempt free online tests that are there in our website. You can also get access to tons of free study materials, and you can also find free tutors and mentors in this website. Thanks a lot for watching. Hello friends. This video on atom and molecules part 7 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. What is the history of atomic mass for a given atom? Now let's see average atomic mass. What is average atomic mass? See, we have so many isotopes of oxygen, for example 16, 17, 18, right? So let's suppose oxygen 16, oxygen 17, oxygen 18. Oxygen 16 is 99%, and this is, let's suppose, 0.5%, this is 0.5%. I don't know the exact figure, so I'm just putting some values. So if you talk about the average atomic mass, that means atomic mass of any oxygen sample which you get, it will have 99% oxygen 16. So it will have 99 by 100 into 16 plus 0.5% of 17 plus 0.5% of 18. So this will be the average atomic mass. Okay, because this is the average of atomic mass of all the isotopes in a given sample. And since in the chemical world, when you talk about oxygen, you talk about only oxygen, right? When you talk about oxygen in the lab, when you react, for example, when you burn a matchstick, so their carbon is reacting with the oxygen to form CO2, wood is carbon. So in that case, the oxygen that is used to burn carbon is the atmospheric oxygen. And atmospheric oxygen, if you see, this is atmospheric oxygen, has O16 also, O17 also, O18 also, right? And all these have different atomic mass. So which mass should we take? So we take average based on the proportion. We know oxygen 16 is 99%, oxygen 17 is almost 0.5, oxygen 18 is almost 0.5. So we take average of this and we get some value, mostly 16 point some value, maybe 0, 2, 3, I'm not sure of the exact value. Some value will come, and that is the average atomic mass for oxygen. Similarly, for all the elements, you can find the average atomic mass, right? That is the average of atomic mass of all the isotopes available in the nature, right? Based on the percentage of their availability. Okay. Now the question is, we talked about atom, we talked about size, we talked about weight of the atom. Now the question is, can atom exist independently like a bird or anything which exists independently? Is it possible? See, most of the atoms, they don't exist independently. They exist as molecules and or ions. Molecules or ion. And this is for the most. But some do exist independently. For example, helium, argon, they are all noble gas, so they exist independently. But for example, if you talk about sodium Na+, Cl-, these are all ions. We talked O2, We talk about H2. So in this O2 we have 2 oxygen atom, H2 we have 2 hydrogen atom, and these are molecules. Or water also, if you see. Okay, so most of them won't exist independently, but few of them, for example, helium, argon, mostly noble gas, they exist independently. Most of the atoms, right? Most of the atoms exist in the form of molecules or ions. And why? We'll study all about these in higher classes when we talk about the stability of ions. Why sodium atom is not stable but sodium ion is stable. There are reasons behind it. There are reasons. There are scientific reasons for this. Why chlorine atom is not stable but chlorine ions is stable, that too with a negative charge. Negative charge, that means it has taken electron. For now, leave it. Maybe in the next chapter we'll talk about the atoms. We'll touch upon these a little bit. But in the higher classes, you will study about these things. Okay. Let's take some questions here. Why it is not possible to see atom with the naked eyes? See, these atoms are very small. They are very small, very tiny actually. And they are measured in nanometer. 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So small. They are so small that actually you can't see through naked eyes. Okay. Why? Because see, this is also a little advanced concept. For anything to see, the way it works is you have a light, maybe sunlight or any other light. Light, and there's an object which you want to see. Light will come and will get reflected by the object, and then it is reflected by the object. Then your eye, this is your eye assuming, then you can see it. But if the particle is so small, right, that it will not reflect the light, it will just pass through, then you will not be able to see the object. You will understand this concept in the higher classes. Just understand that this is very small, so the light will not be able to reflect, the object will not be able to reflect the light, and thus you will not be able to see using naked eyes. You will not be able to see using naked eyes. You need some high instruments, spectrometer or high quality instruments to see this. Okay. Thank you. Visit our website examfear.com to watch more and more quality educational videos. You can also attempt free online tests that are there in our website. You can also get access to tons of free study materials, and you can also find free tutors and mentors in this website. Thanks a lot for watching. Hello friends, this video on atom and molecules part 8 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Now let's talk about molecules. We talked about atoms. We talked about atoms a lot. We talked about the size. We talked about the mass. We talked about the way you represent atoms, the history of atoms. We talked about a lot for atoms. Let's talk about molecules. What is a molecule? We told that 2 or more than 2 atoms, they are chemically bonded. Example, if you see, sometimes one also, for example, this is a helium atom. It exists independently, or argon. 2, for example, oxygen or hydrogen. Right? 3, ozone, good example of this. Right? 4 can be phosphorus. 4 phosphorus atom combined to form P4. It can be 6 also. For example, sulfur, A6. So there are so many examples. Right? So, or for single, you can have ions also. You can have charge. It can be but let's talk about molecules. We're not talking about ions now. Okay. So these are examples. Copper is also one example. So molecule are 2 or more than 2 atoms, or sometimes 1 also, 1 plus atoms combined chemically. Okay. When you say combined chemically or chemically bonded, I mean to say they are tightly held by attractive force. So there is a force of attraction between these two oxygen, which is holding these two oxygen atom together, right? These two oxygen, there is a force of attraction. We'll talk about these in the next class. And we know that most of the atoms, they can't exist independently, right? Because oxygen atom alone is not stable. It's not stable. And why it is not stable, we'll try to study in the next class when we talk about atoms in details, or maybe in the higher classes. So most of the atoms, they don't exist independently, but they exist in this form of molecules. Okay. So with this, a new definition of molecule can be defined as the smallest particle of element or compound that is capable of independent existence. Right, add molecule are smallest particle of element or compound that is capable of independent existence. Right? And these molecules also show the property of that particular substance. So let me write, and shows all the properties of that substance. This is the definition of molecule. Right? So atom of same elements or different elements can form molecules. For example, it need not be same. Example I took, for example, water molecule. Right? This is a molecule where I have hydrogen and oxygen. This is ozone, we have all oxygen, and this is water where we have oxygen and hydrogen. There's so many examples of molecules. Chlorine molecules, two chlorine together. Right? Hydrogen molecules I have taken. So number of atoms in a molecule is called atomicity. For example, in this case atomicity is 1, in this case there are 2 molecules, atomicity is 2, in this case 3 atoms, atomicity 3, here also 3, here is 4, sulfur 6 atoms, atomicity is 6. So atomicity is nothing but number of atoms in a molecule. It can be monoatomic, for example the helium, argon, copper, they are all monoatomic because it has only one atom. Okay, it can be diatomic, triatomic, tetratomic, hexaatomic. That is a term given is atomicity. Atomicity is nothing but number of atoms constituting a molecule. One molecule is composed of n number of atoms. So n is now atomicity of that particular molecule. For example, we talk about methane, CH4. So there are 5 atoms. So atomicity is 5. Okay. Let's talk about the molecules of compounds. In fact, here the topic was molecules of elements. I should not take H2O because it is actually a compound. Right? These are all elements. Oxygen, ozone, this is a compound. So we'll talk about the molecules of compounds now. So molecules of compound, again different elements joined together in definite proportion as per laws of proportion, constant proportion to form molecules. For example, H2O if you see, NH3 if you see, CO2 if you see. So here this is H2O, hydrogen and oxygen and 2 hydrogen. It H2O. And they combine in a different, in a fixed proportion. For example, in this case 1/8, ammonia 14/3, carbon dioxide 3/8, and this is ratio by mass. Okay, this is water. So if you see water has hydrogen and oxygen and in a fixed mass 1/8, 1:8 ratio by mass. So this is molecules of compounds, nothing great in this. I talked about molecules. No, molecules were neutral. Now we have ions. Ions are similar to molecules but they have charge. For example, in this case, again this can also be single or no, it can have 2, 3 or 4, it can have different charge. For example, negative charge can be Cl minus, positive charge Na plus. Examples I am telling you. Right? So example of Ce2 plus, so many examples. The compounds which are made up of metal or non-metal, they contain charge and they are called ions. So these are generally metals or non-metals, and typically you will see that metal will bear positive charge and non-metal will bear negative charge. Calcium has positive charge, sodium has positive charge, chlorine has negative charge. Okay, or let's take oxygen. Let's take this is oxygen also. Oxygen also has negative 2 charge. Okay, so the one with the positive charge is called cation. The one with the negative charge is called anion. Anion is a negative ion. A negative ion. So if you take a negative ion, it becomes an ion. Okay, so for example, if I have NaCl, it will have Na plus and Cl minus. If you take sodium chloride, it is common salt in water. The moment you put in water, they will break into Na plus and Cl minus because they are more stable. And this sodium ion is a chloride ion, and Cl minus is an anion, and Na plus is a cation. Or if you take CaO, so it will break into Ca2 plus 2 minus. This is a cation and this is an anion. And this metal ions can have, need not be a single atom. It can be multiple atoms. For example, this is SO4 2 minus. This is minus 2 charge. Right? This is NO3 minus. For example, HNO3, this is H2SO4. So these are all examples of an ion. So an ion need not be a single charge atom. It can be group of atoms with net charge. It has to have net charge. And these are called polyatomic ions. There's a term for this. Polyatomic ions. So by now we know atoms, we know molecules, and we know ions. We have a fair idea about atoms. Inside atom, whatever we have, electrons, protons, neutrons, we'll study in the next class. For now we know what is atom, what is molecules, and what is ion. So with this, let's try to write some chemical formulas. So this is the example of chart for ions. If you see, sodium exists as Na plus, potassium K plus, silver Ag plus, copper Cu plus. In fact, copper also exists as Cu2 plus. We will see that in the next higher classes. Magnesium Mg2 plus, calcium Ca2 plus, zinc Zn2 plus, iron Fe2 plus. Iron also exists as Fe3 plus. So we see here copper existing as Cu2 plus, Cu3 plus. Right? Similarly, iron exists as Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus. Hydrogen exists as H plus. Hydrogen also exists as H minus. Chlorine as Cl minus. Typically, bromine, iodine all as minus. Oxygen generally exists as 2 minus. Sulfide 2 minus. Nitrite 3 minus. If you see, all these are typically non-metals. And these are typically metals. Right? And these are example of polyatomic ions. For example, NH4 plus, OH minus, NO3 minus, SCO3 minus, CO32 minus, SO3 2 minus, SO4 2 minus, PO4 minus. These are all polyatomic ions. I told you ions can also exist as polyatomic. Thank you. Visit our website examfear.com to watch more and more quality educational videos. You can also attempt free online tests that are there in our website. You can also get access to tons of free study materials, and you can also find free tutors and mentors in this website. Thanks a lot for watching.